Hello, today we are going to talk about how do you learn about yourself from a more neutral place, and what does the process of trying new things really look like? So where I think most people go wrong with they think they want to try something, they've heard about fasting, they've heard about not eating certain foods, they've heard about benefits of this, that, and the other. Where I think they go wrong is they have a vested interest in wanting things to go one way or the other. If I eliminate all carbs from my diet, I expect I'm going to lose X amount of pounds really quick. I'm going to have these great results. And so when they go on that venture, they've already got this vested interest in it. They've already got this perceived outcome that they're shooting for. And so they are not neutral, okay? And that would be problem number one. So in this year, I have tried two things. One, I've tried losing weight without tracking calories, points, or anything. And now I'm currently doing a no flour, no sugar trial to see how it works for me. The way that I do everything when it comes to trying new things, I do my research, but I don't let that go on indefinitely. So I know a lot of people like to look up things, listen to things. They're very passive, and I've shared this before on podcasts, I've shared this before in other videos, that being passive really is not fully learning. For you to fully learn, you have to apply and you have to test, because what somebody else finds to be true for them may not be what is true for you. So let's just say you get wind of something and you think it might help you in some way. You want to first do your due diligence, think it through. Have I done things like this before? Has it been successful? Have there been issues with it? Like, for instance, I know at this point in my life, saying no carb or extremely low carb is never going to happen again. It's just not. I've done it enough to know I don't like how I feel. I know I get squirrely. I know I tend to make fat bombs and coconut flour / almond flour brownies. I basically find ways to make all the foods that don't really serve me with much more fat. And I don't tend to do really well. So I know that that approach doesn't work. But a no flour, no sugar, for example, most recent one for me, I'm having fruit, I'm having cornmeal and oatmeal and barley and rice. And so there's no elimination on carbs. It's just I'm choosing to take out processed flours. I'm choosing to take out processed sugar. So I see the inherent difference in the two. And I had a feeling that would be just fine. And so far it's been great. But then once you've done your research, you've given it that pre-thought of, have I done this before? What has been the outcome? Reflect on your past. The next thing you want to do is set up a time frame. Where I think a lot of people go wrong is they just dive in wholeheartedly and they don't really put any healthy parameters or boundaries around trying something new. So for me, 4 to 6 weeks is usually the gauge. I will do a new approach to something and I give it 4 to 6 weeks. So when I went to no tracking calories, I gave myself a 4 week to 6 week time frame to test it while monitoring my weight, while assessing, how I was doing, really journaling about it. But after that 4 to 6 week period, if I wasn't loving it or enjoying it, I knew I didn't have to stick with it. So see, this is how it becomes more scientific, more tested, versus I believe wholeheartedly I have to apply this way of doing things to my life. There's no other potential way to do this. Heather or somebody else said they were doing it with great success. I should be doing it too. I remove all that by putting in a time frame. So I have a distinct period at which I'm going to make a decision. Do I continue or do I just go back to what I was doing before? No harm, no foul, right? 4 to 6 weeks of my life, it's going to go by anyway. What's the difference? So I put a time frame on it. The next thing I do is I let go of expectations. This is probably the hardest one. So if you were to say remove flour and sugar, and you really like flour and sugar, and you were to keep stepping on the scale and you're like, oh my gosh, my weight's not changing. This isn't worth it. I thought I was going to lose 5 pounds a week because Sally on her blog said she lost 5 pounds a week. Well, there you go. You had an expectation. What if you said the general consensus is that if you remove flour and sugar, your cravings go down? Maybe it helps with things like binge eating. Maybe it helps with things like swelling or water retention. Maybe it helps with somebody who's transitioning through perimenopause or menopause. So I'm going to give it a try, but I don't know what to expect. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I'm willing to give this a test run and just see. See, there's no attachment to the end. It's a general let's see. So that would be the next point. Then you want to document. So let's again go back to being a scientist, right? When a scientist tests something for 4 or 6 weeks, they take extensive notes. They pay attention to how the test subjects are reacting to the medication or the new food or the new environment. They pay close attention to how they're responding and reacting. So you need to journal as well. How did I feel today? Because here's the thing. If you had a hard, fast expectation and all you're looking at in this example is the scale, what if you actually felt better? What if you actually noticed your rings were looser on your fingers and you were less puffy and less swollen, but you weren't paying any attention to that because the only marker of your success was that you saw Sally had lost 5 pounds doing X and you're staring intently at the scale, right? What if your digestion is better? What if your sleep is better? What if your focus is better? You want to be journaling all of these different aspects to kind of have a personal record of what you're learning through that 4 to 6 week time frame. Then you can also look at weight. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to encourage you to branch out because there might be things you change that actually add to the quality of your life that have nothing to do with a weight loss goal. Okay, so just want to throw that in there. So what have we gone over so far? When you want to try something, you only research for a certain period of time, reading, taking in information. You then pull the trigger, you take action after reflecting on your past and saying, have I done this a gajillion times? Has it not been successful for me the gajillion of times? And if not, or if so, if not, what didn't work about it and why am I trying it again? Like really dive into that. Number 2, time limit. I'm only going to do this approach for 4-6 weeks. By the way, I say 4 to 6 weeks because most females have their menstrual cycle within a 4 to 6 week period, depending on if they're super regular or not. And that way you get to experience the month in its entirety just to see how you're going to feel. No expectations going in. You're going in to see what happens. You're journaling how you feel, results you see. You're using several markers of measurement, right? And then you get to assess, all right? So you get to the end of the 4 to 6 week time period, you look over your notes, you really think through how this went, and you say, okay, these are the positives, these are the negatives, this is my thought moving forward. And then you give yourself permission to decide if you will continue on or if you want to do something else or not do it any longer, right? You have that decision to make. But at the end of this, it removes the brain from saying, oh my gosh, remember that one time we tried such and such and it worked so well? And what it really was is, yeah, you went on keto for 3 weeks, you dropped like 5 or 10 pounds, but then you were binging by week 4. You need to remember that. You need to remember that because even though in your mind you are thinking it was wildly successful, really it wasn't wildly successful. And I don't mean to pick on keto there. It can be anything, but I went on this all protein fast where I drank nothing but protein shakes. And my gosh, I lost 20 pounds in 4 weeks. Yeah, but you were binging or overeating by week 5 and you gained it all back. So no, it didn't actually work. So this is why you want to document. That's why you want to give it a certain time frame. That's why you want to treat this more scientifically than emotionally. And then once you've made the assessment, how did this go for me? You get to make a decision. Do I pull the plug? Do I continue? When I first did the no calorie, no point tracking, eating to my hunger and satiation, I kept my food scale. That was my safety boundary for myself, and I was pleasantly surprised with the results. But had it gone sideways, had I really struggled with it and it wasn't for me, I could always go back to tracking calories. Right now I'm trying no sugar, no flour, and no reduction in any other types of carbs. But if I find I want some at some point, or if I find that this isn't working, just go back to what I was doing, or some variation thereof, right? So I just want to encourage you, learning happens by doing. And a lot of us get stuck in the information absorption part of learning, but we don't actually have a good system to put it into practical application, to try it, to learn how we respond and react to it. We're good at taking in other people's stories and information, and that's all fine and dandy, but it has nothing to do with you. I mean, it may be a glowing success, or it could be a horrible blow up nightmare situation. The only way you're going to know is if you actually put it into application, you test it. So I hope this video helps. The more we can reduce our emotional responses to all this stuff and treat it more scientifically, logically, have a good solid plan of how to test things, you will do so much better in life. All right, my dears, if you could, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, share my videos to help other people, and let me know in the comments how I can better serve you. All right, take care.